There we go.
This is the south edge of the woods. It is 2 utility poles from the curve. Now Marcy's going to swing over and photo the neighbor's woods, which is another approximately 2 utility poles or less. Okay? While it's not contiguous, it is fairly close. Creatures can come to that corner and cross into the woods here with no problem at all. Now, she's photographing the entire surroundings here. Driveway is approximately halfway. Go up here and we'll take a look at the little offset. We'll take a look at the sign.
We're using an iPhone 7 that does not allow any pausing, so we're trying to do this video all at one time without cutting in and out.
Okay, I stepped it off right now, and it's 30 short steps, probably 60 plus feet. Here is the neighbor's woods. The white post signifies that the area south of the white post belongs to another fellow. Okay.
Now this is my woods.
This is Marcy's woods. I told previous hunters that her south edge was here. Her south edge is actually back there. Okay, we're driving along here, pretty good little clip. Here is the keep out sign, right about midway, right across from the house, in front of El Pat Drone. Swing over and get El Pat Drone's house.
El Pat's house, okay.
Okay. Now, this was a mixed harvest. Now, I did the timber harvest when Marcy's mother-in-law was still alive, and they left some big trees in there for seed trees. But there's a nice mixed age trees in there. Some of it's little stuff, some of it, if it wasn't so windy, I would have probably hinge cut a few. Some of them, box elder for instance, I see in there will never amount to anything. There are some that have been defarmed and beat up on. They left a few den trees as indicated by that big tree there. We're going to park up here. We're going to get out because we can't pause it. We're going to show you the northern edge. We're going to walk along the edge. And there's the last keep out sign. This is the northernmost edge. Okay.
Of the woods.
Of the woods. Okay.
Now, but I also own this land here that's for crops.
Yeah. Okay. This is the north edge. Now this ditch out there is the spring-fed ditch. So we're going to walk down here along the edge here. We're going to see. We haven't done that in a while. So we're going to do that. This guy's got a little patch of something there. And of course you can see up here, man, there's a lot of big woods back there. There's little woods there. There's little woods there. In the rut, deer are running. They're running everywhere. Oh, Marcy, you going to jump across, or are you going to just let me walk along here?
I'll just come down here.
Oh, yeah, that's better. You don't have to take a jump. culverts laying in here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. See, the woods goes all the way over to that ditch line. It's a big woods. A little less than 30 acres. Somebody's taken down a tree stand here but hasn't carried it off. I don't know if they've left it here or what the story is. They didn't get very far in the woods there. The guy who leased it last 2 years, a gentleman named Keith Gregg, he told me he was going to come back in here and get his stands. That one looks like it's been left there a while. Somebody's trimmed some limbs back from the field with a, I don't know. Looks like they beat it off. There's an old disc there. Here's a real thicket there. Well, you can just assume you're line dancing, Marcy. Marcy's done several line dance videos to facilitate her dancers. Her dancers kind of like it. Ah, there's a big old buzzard. There you go. There's a big old buzzard. Red-headed buzzard. Not the infamous blackheads. To me, this is just about the right mix. It's not a real open wood. It's not really closed shut. There's various aged trees in there. It appears that somebody's gone through here with a track hoe. And it's pushed back some of the tops, meaning the farmer, meaning Jim Kiesler, because he's pulled off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Marcy, Jim's used a track hoe on this low-lying thing here. You know, probably hanging out in the field. He's ripped it off and set it back. Makes for keeps the stuff from interfering with the farming operation. You know, there's potential of the school is over to our west. And somebody's got a little deer stand here. Huh. I don't know who built this. Not really what it ought to be, but don't encourage that. But it is what it is. I'll walk in here and just show you what it's like in the woods here. Somebody's put some type of, not much of a stand. It certainly looks like it doesn't elevate you much. I don't know if I'd use that. It's not all that solid. Okay, old piece of wire here. Different little spring seeps here. Somebody, 100 years from now, even 60 or 80 years from now, there'll probably be some nice timber in here. Right now, it's best used for deer hunting. Here's an example where they left a den tree. Something like this will never amount to anything. It's a double trunk thing. Be a good one to hinge cut. Here's a cherry that's crooked, that wants to lean into the field. Okay, yeah, they used the track hoe with the claw to grab hold and pull those off rather than trim them off and then push the stuff back. Of course, all these little leaner outers in the field don't really do much for much of anything, really. So they've already done kind of a modified hinge cut here, in the sense that the varmints can hide behind some of this stuff that's halfway pulled down, pushed over, whatever. Like that guy there, he was grabbed hold of. It won't die. It'll continue to make a good spot for a deer to bed up against. Here's a den tree. They recommend leaving so many den trees after a timber harvest. Serves two purposes. Number one, it gets the acorns on the ground. That's an oak. And number two, it provides a spot for the mainly coons to live. In the fur industry, coons make up 80% of the market. They make up 80% of the value of the fur sold. I think it's 79 and 81 really, but 80% is close enough. Just like me, I say there's 50 acres tillable and 30 acres in woods. Well, it might be 51 or 52 tillable and 28 or something in woods, but it's close enough to 30. I'm not gonna split hairs. You know, this can easily hold 2 to 3 hunters with no problem at all. You know, what you see in this corner up here is not what your buddy's going to see on the back side. You might hear a little road noise, but you won't have that much interference. Butterweed's coming up. Nothing eats butterweed. The deer don't eat butterweed. They'll eat the soybeans, but not the butterweed. Hey, yeah, Jim's reached up here, Marcy. See where he's reached up and pulled down with a track hoe, pulled down the limbs. We need that type of detail over in Saline County. Powerful piece of equipment to break off an oak. Those are some nice oak trees someday. That's a couple mature ones. This is relatively thick in here. We're going to hinge cut anything, probably the 4 to 6 inch ones that box elder, sassafras, maple, a twisted tree that's had a vine growing around it like in there that will never develop into a saw log, that would only make decent deer cover, would be good. Some point in life, those guys there that's had grapevines twined around them. Now here's a real example. Deer could be sleeping in there, bedded up in there in that thicket, and it would take a 2 men and a dog to get them moving in here. Something like this would be good to hinge cut. It goes up 5 foot, then it goes to the west, then it goes to the north. It just isn't going to ever turn into a desirable log to be harvested. There's the landowner herself standing right here with the iPhone that won't pause. My little Casio would pause. Oh well.
He couldn't believe that this wouldn't pause.
I couldn't believe everything's got a pause on it. That would be a good one to hinge cut. It's double trunked. It's leaning. I mean, really, the amount of trash that's in here that he's put down. Very large cherry tree. I don't think that one will pay anyone way through college because it's got a hole in it. Water's gotten in there, I'm sure, and caused decay. I don't know. I suspect that's why they probably left that one when they may have been. How many years ago was that? About 15 approximately?
No, probably at least
20?
20.
Okay. Well, it's uneven growth. Here's one that he's taken and twisted back. That will turn into a hinge cutter quite by accident. Not a good hinge cutter because I don't think it's got enough to keep it alive for long, but for a little while. Yeah, you know, the big buck could be bedded down in here just about anywhere. And you wouldn't see him until the urge. Yeah. Okay. Part of this ditch, the field's been tiled. How many years ago was it tiled, Marcy?
Oh,
approximately.
sometime like 2010 or 9.
Yeah, here's nice deer tracks right there. Now here's a real little draw here. We're looking at people worried about the wood sitting off by itself. One fellow says, oh, that wood's sitting off by itself. Well, here's a nice woods over here, fence row. Here's another fence row that leads down to the woods. Again, these deer travel their old path. I've seen deer walking the river bottom where there wasn't a bit of timber in it, been farmed for years, and yet they were walking the ditch, the water pattern, the flow, the normal flow. They were walking, or should have been the normal flow of a creek bottom. Here's another big dead tree they left on the corner here, more or less. This would be the northwest corner. Here's a nice ditch here, some of which that dumps into the, this is the creek that I think is really a neat creek. Of course, it flows down more or less into the woods here, then it turns and goes out through there. And I know deer will be walking that. Don't see any.
Check your time.
We're about 15 minutes. I don't.
On this.
Yeah,
See.
shut her down. But we've been about.
Oh, wait a minute. It's only 18 minutes.
Well,
so
that's about 15 minutes.
Well.
Okay, let's walk up through here if we want. Crawfish here. I wish I had my traps. I know there'd be coons on here looking for crawfish, minnows, frogs, mink on here. Neat little ditch here. Neat little ditch. Only criticism I've got of the farmer is he farms a little too close, but that's the difference between an outdoorsman and a farmer. Because eventually, if you farm too close, you're going to have to dig the ditch back out because it fills in. Okay. There's the car. We left. We started at, what'd you say, 18 minutes ago, something
Right.
like that?
Right.
I guess we've been walking about 15. Okay, we can't pause the thing. I'm going to walk into the woods a little ways. You don't have to follow me, hon. I'll just walk into the woods a little ways, give folks an idea of what it's like in the woods, and then I'll come back out. I know nobody really wants to see the creek necessarily, but you can just see a big buck walking down that line, ambering along, at least I can. Natural flow of things are coming out. Searching for that doe. That's what keeps the deer population going. Okay. I'm going to walk right back in through this thing. Walk in here for 3 or 4 minutes. Big den tree. Probably a wheelbarrow of coons live in there. Nice big old oak. Yeah, game trail in here. Blackberries, you name it, they're in here. Here's a guy's got a tree stand up here on this corner. That must be, you may want to see Mr. I could give you Keith's number. He may, and you may not even want to mess with that type of stand. You got to be kind of an acrobat to get that one. Not that high up, still. I've seen what I consider to be more solid stands. And there's no pause. Well, we're in a bunch of autumn olive here, and that provides just some excellent this guy here would probably be a good one to hinge cut. Of course, as windy as it is today, I wouldn't recommend anybody doing any type of playing with a chainsaw, not unless you just pick a little one, a very small one. Okay, here we are. This is a little slough area here. Again, there's just some excellent cover in here. Excellent cover. Here's something that needs to be hinge cut. That's never going to make anything. Here's something that needs to be hinge cut. That's a hickory. It's broke off. That needs to be dealt with. You know, there's a variety of guys in here that, with a little bit of attention, could stuff that probably damaged by the different timber harvest. Here's a little different. Here's a little woods pond. We're coming up on it. You can see the small dam that was made at one time. I think if a guy came in here and took some type of hoe and filled that in, he'd have a nice little pond here. But it's still just a couple of scoops. That was a embankment here, you know, back before World War II. There were not too many big deep ponds. They were just little ponds that people made for their cattle and hogs, and most of those are gone. Most of them have been made by some big piece of equipment, but those were made with a scraper. Looks like the stuff in here is probably 75, 80 years old. Right in this little section. Yeah, that would have been nice if Jim could come in here at some point and patch that, do a little patching on it. Then you'd have yourself a little pond in here. This is only the second time I've actually been in this woods. I don't think Marcy was in here earlier, but it's hot today. It's warm. Okay, I'm going to give her phone back. I had a little camera that made a disc CD, but she's capable, knowledgeable about putting this kind of stuff on YouTube, and maybe what we'll talk Jim into. We could create a little wetland area back there, a little spot for Jim, meaning the farmer, so in the summertime or in a dry fall, the deer could come in here and get a nice drink out of that little pond there. That would be great. There's a little old pond, probably quarter acre. It's Now it's got water in it now, but probably it wouldn't have. Jim were in there. He probably never been in there, Jim the farmer. Okay, Miss Marcy, I think we're ready to shut it off.
Oh, well, aren't these deer tracks?
Yeah,
Here.
yeah, yeah,
Here.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's deer tracks all over the place in here. No shortage of deer tracks. No shortage of deer tracks.
here.
Yeah.
Look, let's see. There's a good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good deer track. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Now,
there.
now they're spread out. They're supposedly running when they're spread out at the base. Yeah. Here's a big deer track there. They're walking.
I was hoping to find a deer shed.
You were looking for sheds?
Yeah.
We found some good sheds, Marcy and I have, but we're just a little late for it. But I don't know when Jim did that work along here. We could ask him, but we probably need to. He probably won't be back for another couple years, but boy, that would make, there's a little spot in there. You could just see the dam that somebody put up with one of those old trip pans that they used to use to haul dirt with behind a mule. That's how they made the levee from Carroll, New Orleans, with mules and trip pans. That was hard work. Strong people. Okay, hon, I think we can shut her off.
Okay. Thanks to Charlie.